It's been a very intriguing start to the DStv Premiership for Orlando Pirates as well. How are you feeling leading up to the Soweto derby this weekend?
You spoke about debutants. I'm also one of them. New experience. Like Bernard just said, you even see the difference in training, the preparedness, the healing from players that have been injured. It already sets the tone that is the biggest match in the PSL fixture. The players look ready. You'll never know how ready you are for the derby. It's what happens on the day of the match that will determine the outcome.
You know, it seems like injury is a big talking point ahead of the Soweto derby, and the irony is, Coach, you're sitting here with a moon boot. First of all, how are you feeling? And how's your team getting ready and getting prepared for the big match also on Saturday?
Yeah, thanks, Tato. Thank you. Yeah, it's my injury is okay. It was a fracture and it's turned into a torn tendon. So it's painful, but it's what it is. And
sorry, Coach.
Other coaches have had to sit on the bench with a moon boot on, so join the club.
Yeah.
I'll get by. I'm more concerned with the players. Like, for example, in training, guys, we had Sviso Clanty tore his Achilles tendon today. So.
Sure.
So that's another one on our list. So he's going to be out for probably a good few months. I think, look, everybody has injuries, and we've both got our injury list, and you can wish that he would be back and he would be back and have a full squad to select from. But that's not how it is. Now, the boys that we've been working with have been doing a great job and really, really working hard. And as we've all said, when the derby comes around, that little bit more of adrenaline kicks in, and control that so it's a positive thing. And I'm sure this time round, I'd love the fans to be there. That's what the blood of football is, the fans. We're the muscles and the bones, but the blood is the fans. I hope they still enjoy it. You guys are making a fantastic fist of it for them, so we hope that we can as well.
And also another question, Coach Mandla spoke about this being also his first taste of the Soweto derby. This is not your first rodeo, whether it's a cup competition, whether it's for charity, whether in the league. It's always a highly built match. But this one's a bit different, especially looking at your results and how you come into this match. How do you think you're going to attack this one and really try and make sure that Kaizer Chiefs boss this one at home and take the first 3 pointers?
I think first of all, the derby is the derby. What goes before and what comes after many times is totally irrelevant. You know, it lives its own life. How do you deal with the occasion? You know, we have debutants. How do they deal with the occasion? The experienced guys, can they give their experience and help them out? You know, there's all of those things. Do you get the game plan right? You know, do you know your opponents well enough? You know, all of those things, they come on the day. And, you know, the wise coach sitting next to me said that it lives its own life on the day, and he's 100% right. You know, so what you can do is you can do your preparations and tick all the boxes. And then on the day, you've got to make sure that you perform. So there's never any guarantees, but we'll tick all the boxes, and then we'll go into it foot to the floor.
Yeah. Coach Mandla, looking at your game on Tuesday, of course it must be so inspiring that you were able to come back and get those 3 points against Kukuna United. But you also spoke about the fact that with your injured players, you could make a whole different team. But that fight back must be so inspiring to know that you go in with a bit of an upper hand over your rivals, Kaizer Chiefs.
The crisis of injuries in our team gave us an opportunity to train the team. Normally you will focus on certain players within the team that have played regularly. But what this has taught us is that we must make all players ready. If it means that we have to get players from MTC, we'll do that. And the players that have played currently have shown that they can take the team forward, even with other players that are still injured. That's all we can control. Let's control the controllables. The match that we just played against Kukuna gave us the confidence. But like I said, you're playing Kaizer Chiefs, the biggest brand in the country, with the most formidable attack, great transition game, great on set plays. we just have to be careful that we play the correct game. We don't lose the ball in wrong areas because they can be deadly. We all know that.
Coach Mandla's mentioned some key pointers when it comes to Kaizer Chiefs, a transitional play and so forth, knowing that they've done their homework and they want to come out to FNB Stadium and take away those 3 points away from you at home. That should also be inspiring to reignite Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah, look, Mandla's done his homework, so he's obviously prepared properly, and we've done the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you hope, as many of the ones before have been, you hope that it's not that the two teams cancel each other out and it's a boring game for the fans. I don't think this will be. I think this will be a very good game of football. We've done our homework on Pirates, and even though they've had their injuries, they've still put together a balanced team that has a profile. And luckily for us, we've looked at that profile and we think we've got a few things that will help us get through the 90 minutes.
Sounds like you guys are going to cancel each other out this weekend.
I hope not.
Coach Mandla, thank you so much. Coach Stuart Baxter, thank you so much for joining us. We will open up the floor after the live broadcast to the members of the media.
Andy is, I would assume that's long-term, Achilles, the rest of the season possibly.
Looks like a total rupture. It was like a gunshot. So players standing 10 metres from him heard it. So he's not in a lot. Amazingly, he's not in a lot of pain. He's sitting watching the rest of the training, but he's going to the surgeon and we'll find out. It won't be under 6 months, I wouldn't think.
Mark Stradham, Times Live. Just both coaches. Can we just get an injury list apart from Ncikazi, Stuart, and Coach Mandla? I know there's, I think, Lorch, Lepasa, but everyone else as well, possibly. Thanks.
Get us so, Mandla.
Please forgive me if I forget some. That's how much we have in terms of injuries. Maybe Ofori is still out. Sandy Lenz is recovering from an injury. Maela is still out. JLA is out. He has done his operation. Lepasa is going through rehab. Lodge is also going through rehab. Tandy will help me if I forget some. Like I said, for us it's just a whole team list that is on the outside without complaining. We just take predestination and assume there's a reason why so many. It happens in every club, but ours is extraordinary. But we're going to go through, and maybe good things are going to follow after the injuries.
Okay, Coach.
Yeah, we've got most of our players are at least back in training, doing their rehab. So you got Samir is the only one who's not. He's got a long way ahead of him. Leo Castro's back into training without being available. Dumi Misani's also back in training. Hasn't played any minutes yet, so he's getting closer. Lebo, Sia, those are the ones I can think of, and now Sviso, Clancy added to that list. So they're all possible big hitters, you know. They're all possible frontline troops. So there's a wealth of experience ready to come back, and I hope we can get them back quickly. But as Mandla says, you know, you get on with it anyway, and some good things will come from it. Good things have already come from it. So we'll just keep on playing with the players that we have, and I'm sure they're going to do okay.
Hi, Coach Mandla. Delmain here from Sakala Duma. Coach, in the midweek game when Stellenbosch took on Kaizer Chiefs, Coach Steve Barker said that they had devised a plan to kind of stop Keegan Dolly, and which to a certain extent they did, because they played deep and then they didn't allow him space to play those passes. Have you devised a similar plan to not only stop Dolly but to stop the entire Chiefs attack? Because we've seen now that Bernard has returned to form. Keegan at his best is mesmerizing, and then also with Billiat. Have you devised a specific plan to stop these players on Saturday? Thanks, Coach.
We have to devise a plan. Whether it works or it doesn't, we're hoping it works. But when you look at Kaizer Chiefs and you're going to look at individuals, you're going to lose the plot. Dolly is the best player, but there's many more at Kaizer Chiefs, so we want to look at them holistically and look at the whole attack. We'll try and stop them from their strengths, adapt to whatever they are doing, and try and impose our game when we have the ball, take care of the ball better, because they can hurt you if you lose the ball carelessly, especially in areas where they want to win the ball. So the plan, yes, we have to try and give a good plan. I hope it works on match day.
Next.
Good afternoon to both.
Hey.
Okay, thank you. Not just on the pitch or on the training grounds as well, but do you guys tell the players not to focus more on social media, because that can really make or break the players, prior to a derby? Because remember, these days it's not only about preparation, physically, but mentally as well. Do you guys tell the players not to focus too much on social media, because it can actually make or break them? And Tato, you've honestly spoken about the power of social media. So do you also guys work on, the mentality of the players building up to the derby? Thank you.
Stuart?
I think it's a great question. It's a great question, really is. The power of social media today, and the popularity and the platform it gives for everybody, whether they're an expert or they're a no-hoper, they have a right to their opinion, and it gains credence. And I think if you don't have a social media discipline amongst your players, then the derby becomes a huge threat for that sort of over stimulation that you're talking about. If you need to get validation from social media to have confidence as an athlete, then you've already gone down the wrong road. So we've got to do our work every day, every session, every game, so that they are prepared for the derby. Now, we've heard so many people saying the derby is special. It is, and you're 100% correct to raise this as being a special situation. It's like when you've got your kids. You raise your kids, they go out in the world, the standards you give them, you hope they can manage it. We work with our players, we hope when they come to the derby, they can manage it. But it's an absolute stick-on of a question, so yeah. We hope that the players will manage it. We have done work with them.
Same sentiments that Coach Stuart has just mentioned. And from the era where we're coming from, there's a coach that used to take in the national team, Parker will recall, take the cell phones and put them in the basket a day before the match. But now the players that we coach now are millennials. Times have changed. There's so much that happens on their phones. We just can only make them aware of the dangers of being on social media on match days. We can do so much. They have to take responsibility as professionals and hope whatever happens on social media does not affect the performance in a match.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Tato, colleagues, and to the team representatives. This is Vuyo from Power FM. To both coaches, maybe starting with Coach Stuart, the conversation, of course, around Pirates. In any other time, having standard players that play in, week out from a team, it will be easier to prepare for them because you'd understand how they play. But in this case, you've got a roving team from Pirates. Just how harder is it then to prepare, not knowing the players that are sort of going to be there on the park on the day? Maybe Nangaguwe, Coach Mandla, Uguti, do you not foresee that this now sort of giving you an advantage when other teams are not able to sort of predict, I guess, the players, or you having an unpredictable team to put on any field of day? Do you not see that this is giving you an advantage?
Starts with Coach Mandla.
If I had a choice, I will play the same starting team for the duration of the season, but that's not possible in football. My history, where I'm coming from, I played a goalkeeper, one goalkeeper for the rest of the season. That's my school of thought. Why fix it if it's not broken? but the circumstances that we face at Orlando Pirates determine that we should play the way we are playing. We must use the players that we are using currently, and with respect to them, they have not disappointed, considering the fact that some of them have not played for quite some time. It's work in progress. I just hope that at some point we can be that team that can have a consistent lineup, and only when there's a need that we change, not forced injuries as it is happening currently.
Yeah, I think when you go into a game, you try and do your homework on the team, individual players, and you have to balance that with doing your own work. You've got to balance that with making a game plan that your players understand, and you communicate that properly. And sometimes we can overcook it. We can overcook it. So if you don't know the shoe size of Orlando Pirates reserve left back, I don't think that's a disadvantage, and that's just a hypothetical, of course. But the more information you've got in this short space of time, I'm not sure it's going to do you that much good. So they've won their last game. They're certainly a team to be reckoned with. The derby is the derby. We fancy that we have a little bit more to give than we've been giving lately. Now, it's again, that lives its own life, and I think sometimes you can overcook it. So I don't think it's a disadvantage, but it's what it is, and I understand why you asked the question.
Right, a question down there.
Good afternoon. My question is, this is Lesedi from Front Runner. My question is for Coach Baxter. From your personal experience, seeing that it's your second stint with Kaizer Chiefs, what is your personal experience of the derby, and how has the rivalry changed from the time you were here before, right up until your second stint now?
My first experience of the derby was, actually I watched one when I was the Bafana coach first time round, and it was an incredible experience. I wasn't involved in it at that time. Then when I was at Chiefs the first time round, my first derby it's intimidating, it's exciting, but I think it's very, very special in as much as it lives such a life, you don't really know that until you've experienced it. And I think it'll be different now to having 94,000 people in the stadium. I think there's going to be different challenges. There's going to be different things that you've got to look at. But for a coach, as a professional athlete, I love it. I love it. I love the knife at the throat. I love living like that. So, you make a mistake from the bench, you've lost the game, disaster. You do something from the bench that changes the game, you love it. Now, I just love the whole thing. And if you're a professional sportsman, then you want to play at the highest level and you want the most important games. You don't want to play an unimportant game. If you do, then sorry, I'm not one of those. I like these big games. I love testing myself and the players, and I'm sure Mandla loves it as well. It's would we change it? Would we go and sit somewhere else today instead of sitting here? Not a chance.
Adrenaline rush. All right, final question, and then we're going to go off to the mixed zone. There will be an opportunity for photographers for photo op with the whole panel, and then we will have mixed zone where the players and the coaches will also be available for one-on-one interviews. Veli?
Okay, thank you. Velila from SABC for
One
both
more.
coaches.
Sorry, one more. Sorry.
Okay. Coach, we talk about the prestige and how big this game is. Does it bother you that this derby comes at a time when these two teams are almost at the foot of the top 8? A game like this is associated with these two teams being there, showing how these teams, or what these teams are to football in South Africa. Does it bother you that it comes at a time when you are where you are right now? And what will you ensure to make sure that at least by the time you go to the second round, there's more attraction to it than just being the normal Soweto derby?
with everything that has happened, the COVID that football has faced, with the injuries that the team has gone through, we have accepted, and acceptance is the first stage of improvement. We've just accepted that we are where we are. We can only get better going forward, rather than mourning and trying to change what we can't change. Maybe it's good that this is happening to both teams at this period. It gives us an opportunity, but a derby is just a derby. Pirates and Chiefs go in any country, whether it's in England, whether it's in Brazil, Flamengo and Fluminense, in Spain, Barcelona and Real Madrid. Derbies are derbies. It's just a big match in any calendar. So the position that we both have in the PSL log does not really affect how we're thinking and how we are going to behave in a match on Saturday.
No, I agree with Mandla in as much as that going into it, I don't think we reflect on the position as much as you're thinking about the performance. I think for our own part, we've been happy with certain aspects of our performances in every game, and yet small moments in the game have had a massive impact on the amount of points that we've got. So it's not important to look at the log now, it's important to look at the log at the end of the season where we see where both of the teams finish then. I think that's important, and I think if you're a professional, when you go into the derby, you've got to make sure that you perform on the day. That's everything. Perform on the day. Don't go in there bringing into your world worries like, oh, where are we in the log, and do I know enough about that player, and there's no crowd, and oh, I don't usually, this referee doesn't like me, and oh, it's raining today, my goodness. You know, the less chitter chatter that you bring into your world on the day of a derby gives you a chance of making a performance. And I think that's why I'll be advising the players to get to, and maybe even the coaching staff.
Last question, please.
Good afternoon, coaches. It's Kaizer from Sport 24. This question is for Coach Baxter. Coach, there's always debate on it, we rightly or wrongly, that people will say that Chiefs' back four should line up like this, so and so should be playing in a particular position, and I mean that's up to anyone's opinion. But at this point in the season, have you reached a point where you've actually settled on what you feel is your best defensive combination?
Defensive combination, yeah. No, I think we've looked at a lot of combinations. We've looked at a few where we're saying, is the time right to make that change? Now we've got the injury to Soweto, which we're going to have to make a change. And you say, how many changes do you want to make? Do you want to make changes going into a big game like this, or do you want to wait? All those things depend on what you see in training every day. It depends on what you see if you give them a performance from the bench, for example. The confidence of the player, the makeup of all of those things go to me making a final decision. Absolutely not made a final decision on what our best back four is or our best central midfield. Not at all. But I do think that when you're looking at all of your options, a part of the game of football is the fact that not everybody agrees with me. You know, if you get all of the PSL coaches sitting in here, and we picked an Orlando Pirates team and a Kaizer Chiefs team, even though they're coaches, they probably have got a greater understanding of our job, it wouldn't be the same. And that's what's wonderful with football. I've got no problem with people not agreeing with me. Absolutely not. And I love the supporters to show that passion and get involved, that they care. So for me, if people don't agree with the back four, or they don't agree with who are playing the midfield, that's okay. That's okay. But what I'll do is I'll give my opinion, then they don't have to agree with it, but maybe they can respect it, because I work more with the players than anybody else.